back to the chase. Oh yeah, greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Kingdom Hearts for the PlayStation 2, PS3, Wii, PC. Actually, yeah, it did recently come out on PC, didn't it? So, yes, now everybody can share into the Finny fun, which we won't be getting to, because fuck that level. Well, until we have no choice. But yeah, we're off to a brand new world, and this one might be a bit spookier and goopier of the night. Basically meaning we're going to be going into some, what at the time was initially considered to be a rather cult classic sort of franchise for the Disney Enterprises, and one with a bit of a tumultuous history actually, which well, we'll inevitably get into because we got some lengthy gameplay commutes and a bunch of different stuff to explore for this part, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, yeah, bit of a cult hit at the time, whereas nowadays you can't go into any Hot Topic or fucking Gothic fan club whatever thing without seeing this franchise anywhere. But in the meantime, let's enjoy the travel through the gummy ship space into this trippy as hell acid haze 1970s lava lamp kind of thing. I keep expecting to find love TKO playing around here. But I mean, once again, there's really not too much else to say. Again, like, I mean, if you go to Sid with some of the plans that you get for Geppetto, you can have gummy ship designs based upon, you know, exactly what you've seen on the tin. That being said, though, again, and I'm sure I brought this up time and time again, but again, you can customize your own gummy ship to look basically however you want it, provided you've got the design and you are a little bit more intuitive with how to operate the gummy ship customization system. Again, like, I mean, it's not just, you know, additional upgrades like guns or shielding or weapons. Again, you can pretty much, like, I mean, you can pretty much customize its look to however you want, provided the game lets you, so, like, I mean, if you're really inclined to do that sort of thing, feel free. But I mean, thankfully for me, you're not required to do any of this kind of stuff, and honestly, thank goodness. I'm not really too sure about later Kingdom Hearts games, because as you can imagine, I didn't really give much of a shit about it there either, but I imagine given the sorts of missions that you're given in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, that, yeah, we're probably gonna have to focus on this a little bit more. But then again, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it years down the line. But again, to talk a little bit more about it, this is also the point where the gummy ship stages start becoming a little bit harder. Again, enemies actually fire back, and yeah, that proves to be a little bit costly when you're just using the base model. This is probably where a lot of people would start to upgrade by buying one of the blueprints from Sid or getting them from Geppetto, but fuck that, says I want to complete it with the canon model, because I am just full of great decisions in my life that have led me to such wonderful things like talking over video games on the internet, and drugs, and booze, which I've already indulged in Kingdom Hearts, as you probably heard during the Deep Jungle level. Halloween Town. Let's have some fun on the bun for some spooky, goopy antics. And I will say, in terms of how Kingdom Hearts realizes Halloween Town, it does it pretty well, actually. Like, I mean, it captures the atmosphere down pat. Like, I mean, in a weird way, it actually captures Halloween Town fairly well, given some of the limitations of the PlayStation 2. I'm not just talking in terms of, like, polygonal nature, trying to replicate, like, the sort of, like, plasticine stop-motion kind of stuff that the original film is known for. Like, it actually does kind of achieve a really good atmosphere. Like, I mean, you have some sort of, like, light, soft glow effects going on, you have a bit of foggy ambience, well, more of a mist, really. And, something that you'll soon be seeing, again, I'll probably point it out when we get to it, but yeah, once we get to one of the primary cutscenes, you'll begin to notice a certain thing about Kingdom Hearts, because you might be noticing that Kingdom Hearts has a tendency to sort of go to a thing, I think Hellfire Comms actually defined it with the term default face. Well, yeah, actually no, you're not seeing it at this point, but again, default face is basically the term when you see characters just doing very basic lip flap, like their mouths open and close to simulate dialogue rather than having, like, any specific animation for them talking. Again, it's something that doesn't really mesh well, especially in terms of how the game ages with the rest of the worlds, but you will be seeing it quite soon here where it actually does kind of work to the benefit, really.
And now, allow me to introduce the Master of Terror, the King of Nightmares, Jack Skellington! Bravo, Jack! Bravo! Those ghosts will be a big hit at this year's Halloween.
Thank you. But their movement still needs work. It's not scary enough. I want to strike bone-chilling terror. I'm going to consult the doctor.
Then I'll go attend to the decorations.
Yes, like any politician, I shall do absolutely nothing of importance, Jack. Yeah, politics, but thank you, I'll be here all week. Try the veal. But anyway, as I was saying before, like, I mean, this is pretty much where default phase works to this level's advantage, because again, given the very stock, like, Plasticine-esque animation of Nightmare Before Christmas, it works quite nicely, especially in the case of, like, the mayor over there. Like, I mean, you only have 3 sets of animation in terms of, like, lip flap to do, so yeah, it works nicely for this world. A little bit less so in other worlds. Again, you've probably seen it time and time again, where Sora's eyes just statically open and close to simulate movement, but yeah, I don't know. The point is, it works nicely here in a sort of Uncanny Valley way, but then again, it's Tim Burton, and that is always Uncanny Valley to the extreme, dude! But again, we seem to be noticing some weird stuff. Jack Skellington is in league with the Heartless, and he seems to want him to dance, but they ain't doing nothing. And if we knows anything's about the Heartless, well then we ain't gonna trust it. Like that dead dog, Zero. That was the dog that Eddie Dombrowski done murdered in Silent Hill 2. Even though I think that dog was called Mirror. And even though it looks like you can easily jump over it, and in fact I think you can if you use your fire magic, no, we need to wait until there are enemies to spawn so we can fight, grind Heartless, and bada bing, do the thing, and collect our XP experience and whatever else. And I will still say, actually, that in comparison to a lot of other levels in the game, Halloween Town does a fairly decent job at being expansive. I mean, well, I'll save the rest of my tangents for a little bit later because we have quite few cutscenes to get through, talk about, but don't worry, I'll get into the rest of that credunculars later on. But now, let's go to the lab.
I don't understand. Maybe the guidance system was damaged in the explosion.
Nonsense. My devices are always perfect.
Oh, I've got it! Why, of course. The Heartless need a heart. Doctor, do you think we can add a heart to that device?
Certainly. A heart's not all that complicated. Let's get to work.
To make a heart, first take a container with a lock.
We need the key to this thing first.
Oh, I'm a cranky scientist. Actually, it does kind of make me curious. Like, wouldn't giving the Heartless a heart? I mean, I know the professor technically calls it a guidance system, but wouldn't that make them not heartless and defeat the purpose?
My, that was amazing. And you are?
Sora.
Well done, Sora. I'd like you to be a part of this year's Halloween.
What's this Heartless doing here?
Oh, the Heartless came to town just recently. What's frustrating is I can't get them to dance with me. So, the doctor and I are trying to improve the guidance system. He's quite a genius. Okay, Doctor, let's continue. The ingredients for a heart. Pulse. Emotion.
Terror.
Fear. Hope and despair. Mix them all together, and we have a heart.
Maybe we're missing some ingredients. Let's try adding memory. Sally? Sally! Good-for-nothing girl. Don't know why I bothered creating her. Sally's got the memory we need. See if you can track her down.
No problem. Sora, would you like to come along?
Sure.
So now we have Chris Sarandon, aka Jack Skellington, aka the police officer from Child's Play, aka, wasn't he also Prince Humperdinck, I think? Yeah. Anyway, actually now that I think about it during that whole cutscene really, this seems like a really big missed opportunity to have Riku make another appearance. Like, I mean, given the Pinocchio level and everything, which I suppose might also double deal in, like, God, I lost my tangent because that fucking mayor who's basically just going, "Oh, Jack, I want my bottle! I want my bottle!" But yeah, the Heartless are pretty much gone schizo, and we gotta deal with them, dude. But anyway, back to my previous tangent before that whiny bitch mayor decided to fuck me over. Yeah, like, considering Riku in the Pinocchio level trying to find, like, a suitable vessel and heart for Kairi to use in place of her own, wouldn't this be a cool level for him to make an appearance? Like, I mean, I don't think he necessarily needed to show up in, like a Halloween garb or anything, but I don't know, it would have been, cool to see him maybe try and steal the heart or, you know, be in league with Spooky Boogie. Because, like, I mean, he is working with the Disney villains, as you could no doubt hear with his dulcet tones earlier on, so I don't know, it's kind of a missed opportunity not to have Riku make an appearance and, you know, just do some shit, man. But again, as you can see here with the Heartless all abound, this actually makes it a pretty decent grinding spot if you're willing to grind a lot of enemies, and unlike the Pinocchio level, again, it's not inhibited by obtrusive design. You can pretty much just grind your way through enemies, and bada bing, you'll have one hell of a thing, dude. I gotta stop wearing out that catchphrase, buddy. But again, it's not just it's not just specifically with this area either. Like, I mean, there are a bunch of different areas where a shitload of Heartless spawn, and again, some of the more powerful ones will show up in areas like this, like especially the Flying Heartless. Well, not those Heartless, those are basically the Search Ghosts that you saw in the Pinocchio level. But I'm talking specifically some that I think show up right now, actually. No, those are the fucking mummified skelly wellies that just flap around like Crash Bandicoot off his meds. What I'm talking about is some other Heartless that I think might show up a little bit later on, but yeah. Ooh, what is this? It is Hiro! He is awakened from the grave!
Zero, have you seen Sally anywhere?
Is something wrong, Jack?
No, everything's going great. We're going to have the best Halloween ever. All we need now is your memory.
Memory? You mean this? Jack, I have a bad feeling about this. Why don't you try something else? There's still time.
Nothing could beat what I've got planned. Once we give the Heartless a heart, they'll dance just as I envision it. Trust me, you're going to love it.
Now, as you can imagine, I have not seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, even post-Chain of Memories sort of thing. I mean, I really should make some time out of my day to watch it, since I have also seen The Corpse Bride, which, again, similar movie by Tim Burton. I don't know if it's in continuity or if it's just like another film that Tim Burton made in the same style, but yeah, I don't really see Jack and Sally, if they're even meant to be together, like, getting along very well, because Sally seems incredibly passive, while Jack Skellington feels really, like a bit too naive and, like, so single-mindedly focused on his stuff that he doesn't really think about what he's doing. Like, I don't know, their dynamic just seems a little bit, like, doomed to failure. Or then again, maybe it's Sally's passiveness and Jack's passionate, like, perspective on life that keeps them together, who knows. I don't know, romance, I just took over video games and continue to question my life choices. Anyway, those little kids are lock, shock, and barrel, and they're basically going, we are evil brouhahas who prank stuff and talk to bug bags or fucking whatever. I'm convinced they only go off with Spooky Boogie because they thought he was a beanbag chair, and then he was like, yo, motherfuckers, get the fuck out of here or I'll crawl up your ass and eat your insides out from the inside, and thus Spooky Boogie rules over them because he has power! So long as his hive mind intelligence continues to deem it so. Ugh, whatever. I really don't know what to say about The Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, I mean, to talk about it in a little bit more broader strokes, actually, this was initially not quite the popular behemoth that it is today. Like, I mean, initially The Nightmare Before Christmas was considered a cult classic kind of movie. And this is mainly to do with the fact that Disney initially didn't want another horror movie, mainly because I think it was Hocus Pocus flopped to the box office, that in tandem with Tim Burton's own Batman Returns sort of thing, basically being a bit of a warning signal to most other companies, especially Warner Brothers, that, yeah, we should probably not do something like that because it might not do successfully. And in fact, it wasn't until Kingdom Hearts actually brought it to more attention in the mainstream, actually, that The Nightmare Before Christmas actually became a lot bigger than it was back in the 2000s, so yeah, man, rock on.
That bonehead Jack is really making a heart. I'll be jiggered. That works for me. Ooh, when I get my hands on that... Well, I've got no hands, but I'm still gonna nab that heart and control the heartless.
And as you can see, this is pretty much where the plot diverges from what the other one was in Chain of Memories about unlocking true memories. Instead here, Spooky Boogie basically just wants the heart so we can control the Heartless. Pretty simple. Actually, on that note, couldn't Maleficent have just given him power over the Heartless anyway, since they seem to respond to the strength of the heart, or the heart corrupted by darkness, or something? Then again, I suppose Spooky Boogie might have been perturbed by Clayton, who was he himself controlled by darkness, or I suppose even by, I guess potentially depending on what order you did the stories in, Jafar, who again succumbed to his anger, allegedly, even though it was more so the backfire of the genie lamp kind of thing. I don't know. Either way, I suppose he sees this as a surefire way to take control of the Heartless without any adverse effects, or so he thinks. But regardless of such, this is pretty much where the craving sets in. And again, I did also talk before about the tumultuous relationship between Tim Burton and Disney at this point, and again, I did actually learn some pretty interesting things about the movie's production history, like how it was initially based on a poem Tim Burton wrote in the 1980s. I think something he wrote while he was working on Fox and the Hound, actually. But again, since Disney was very family-friendly and not really one for horror, especially after the disasters that was Hocus Pocus and a bunch of other failed movie projects, like, I don't know, The Black Cauldron or whatever. Yeah, basically they were a bit no bueno about them doing this project, so Burton went off to try and fund this project all on his own, but because he was using Disney animated supplies, they basically claimed it as their property, moved it to Touchstone, and again, they didn't really give it a lot of advertising, which basically led it to being a cult classic in the 90s, before Kingdom Hearts gave it a bit more exposure in the 2000s. That in tandem, I guess, with goth culture reaching like an all-time high from like 2005 to 2009 or whatever, so... yeah, it's kinda weird how many swings and roundabouts these franchises and popularity shit usually takes. In fact, I'm pretty sure Disney ended up including it more in part of its main brand by the time like Pirates of the Caribbean became like a worldwide hit, you know, back around 2001, so... yeah, swings and roundabouts. Yeah, that might be the name of the pod, actually, now that I think about it. Whatever. Again, all we've really got at this point is grinding, which I should probably have cut down, but quite frankly, you're really not missing too much. And again, it's also another thing I want to highlight in the sense that, again, it's part of the reason why this place is a really good place to grind, actually. I used this quite a bit, actually, when I was getting myself prepared for the super bosses, and in turn trying to, you know, grind for materials that I needed for synthesis. Like, I mean, there's a lot to grind for here, but... yeah, goes up by 10s, by 10s, by 10s. And again, you don't need to deal with any of that confusing as all fuck monstro bullshit, man, so fucking have at it, dude. Now then, let us go down to see some more Nightmare Before Elm Street trivia. No. No. Oh, well, apparently, no. That is nothing. I knew I probably should have called it something else, but... oh wait, now I remember some trivia that even I could talk about, but right after this. Again, basically in order to get the fright, spookiness, and whatever the fuck else, you'd basically need to play this, like, a little minigame where you hit the correct gravestones, again, hit the right sequence, and you'll pretty much get shock, fright, and whatever the fuck else that Dr. Finkelberry needs to complete a heart. And you can also get some treasure chests, like a Jack-in-the-Box. Not to be confused with the toy or the restaurant. And again, that's also basically where these doors lead. You can find a couple of other ones that lead to treasure chests, which I ended up actually getting off screen, so I do apologize for not showing it off. I think I might show the area off a little bit later, just for completion's sake, but yeah, sorry. Anyway, this is also a big-ass area with a lot of Heartless that you can grind about, really. And again, to talk about another bit of trivia, at least in regards to voice actors, Dr. Finkelstein, who was basically the wheelchair-bound Dr. Frankel fucking whatever dude, yeah, he was initially voiced by William Hickey in the movie. William Hickey, of course, was Andre Toulon, the guy in Puppet Master, who was pretty much the, well, Puppet Master. But again, I think he died 1993, shortly after the film was released, and obviously he's voiced by somebody different in Kingdom Hearts, so, yeah, rest in peace, dude. Your Puppet Master stuff will live on forever, in Full Moon's reputation of being the puppet people. Well, I mean, whatever. Also, an interesting thing, apparently Tim Burton's original inspiration for the story was seeing Christmas decorations being put up while Halloween was still on, which is actually a bit of a bugbear of my own, because, like, I mean, don't get it twisted, I love Christmas just as much as the next guy, but, like, honest to goodness, like, nothing just fucking peeves me more than seeing Christmas decorations, like, eat up Halloween and fucking, like, New Year's and shit. Like, fuck off, man. Give Halloween its fucking spark back, man. I need to fucking steal that shit, dude. Anyway, another thing to also talk about is actually in regards to the score that you're hearing right now. I don't think it's Danny Elfman himself, but it is based on his work, obviously. And, yeah, he actually ended up having a bit of a mental breakdown, because not only was he trying to transition into being a film composer at the time, but he was also pretty much working 2 jobs, one of which with his band, and the second of which was working for about 2 years on The Nightmare Before Christmas, because Tim Burton was really adamant about that. And, like, the two of the dudes would never even speak to each other, like, for a certain amount of time. Again, they would eventually reconcile, but, I mean, Jesus, man. So, yeah, there was a lot of shit going down in this crippled town. Dun-dun-dun-dun. And this is me realizing that I really should have cut some of this crap's downs. But again, I'll probably be sure to cut out, like, a lot of the grinding in future parts. Again, this is really just me wasting time. Although I will point out a little something else extra. Again, if you pretty much use the same trick of exiting 2 rooms, going back 2 rooms again, this is also a nice way in which you can get the black mushrooms to spawn. Again, and they work very differently from the white mushrooms, which you usually use to get, you know, the proof of, no, not the proof of, whatever, to get the different sort of magical arts, depending on what sort of magic spells that you have. And again, like, I mean, it's a nice way of getting a lot of experience, and again, if you do it all, you get Mystery Goo, which is an important item for synthesis, obviously, but I believe you also get a couple of other things that I can't quite remember at this moment. But the Mystery Goo is rather important, actually, because you need that for the Ultima weapon. Or at least some of the more powerful stuff in the game, so yeah, be sure to get as many of that as you can. Spawn rates are rather limited, of course, but again, it is something that you really need to keep an eye out for, because, well, get as much as you can, and keep it freaky, stay sleazy, and I don't know, rock on, dude. I suppose another thing to also point out in terms of the game's artistry, at least for how it represents Halloween Town, is that again, it does a nice job of showing you the, like, a greater degree of landscape of the area. Like, I mean, you saw before, like on the iconic hill that kind of, like, stretches out for the bathtub to travel over. Again, you can see different areas in which you can travel to around, you can see the moon in the distance, and again, like, I mean, it gives you a nice sense of, like, land continuity, for the lack of a better phrase, in which you can just sort of go from one area to the next. And, you know, ultimately just, I don't know, traverse the area and make it feel very interconnected. I mean, the layout would admittedly change for Kingdom Hearts 2, which does adapt to the other half of the Nightmare Before Christmas story, but yeah, putting that aside, it's, Again, and also, having not seen Nightmare Before Christmas, it does somewhat adapt the story. I think this is more of its own thing before Kingdom Hearts 2 sort of adapts it as, you know, the story good and proper, but yeah. I don't know, like, I mean, in terms of overall atmosphere and themes, it does a nice job all the same. Oh no, Dr. Finkelwinkle, you buggered up and now the kids are escaping with your science project. Ugh, ugh, no, you gotta send Blade and Pinhead and Torch to go off and hunt him down, Andre Toulon. Why am I turning him into this half-Irish, half-Scottish, all badass kind of thing? Whatever, I'm just running on fumes at this point. In any case, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and next time on the Nightmare Before Christmas Kingdom Hearts edition, well, I'll see you next time.
Zero! After them, quick!